So hello everyone. In this video, I am going to explain the code for a simple but functional library management system. We will build this in C++. We will use struct functions, header files. So my name is Sumit. I am from BTech first year. Branch is Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. IIT Roorkee. By the end, so let's start. By the end, we will have a program that can do four main things. Add new books to the library. Display a list of all the books. Issue a book to the user. Return a book. Let's jump into the code. This is our main function code. We will talk in later slides. First, we talk about our header files and statements. First, we have our include statements. IOStream is our console input and output, like say in, say out. String gives us string type so we can store text like title, author name. Vector really important. We will use a vector to hold our list of books. It is resizable array that will act as our database, in which we also use limits as an is a helper. We need a fixing a common bug that we'll discuss in later slide. So we will use four header files, IOStream for input output, C in C out, and string to store text titles, also limit to fixing a common bug that we'll discuss in later slides, and vector to store our books act as a database. So next we define our blueprint for a book using structure. Here we define a code for structure defining for a book. A structure is just a way to group different variable together into a single custom type. Means that we can define different variable for we can apply on a single custom type. That we called book. Every book in a library, every book in our library will have an int id, a unique number for each book, and string title. That means the book has a given specified title name. The string author. The book have author name and a bool is issued. A true false value to track if book is available or checked out. That means a variable have value true or false that will check is book is available in library or not. So in structure we will define four variables for a book, that is IT, title, author, is book is available or not. Now right after the struct we declare two global variables. First one is vector book library. There be the code of vector book library. This is a vector that holds all of our books objects. This is a main library collection, act as our database where we can store all the book from 1 to end. Also declare another integer global variable int next book id is equal to 1. This variable will just keep count. So we can give each new book a unique id starting from 1. This is our global variables. First one is vector book library, second one is next book id. Now this is our main function. Now let's start our main function, because that's our program actually starts from here. Inside the main, we have do while loop. The loop is what keeps our menu on the screen. It will do everything inside and check while the loop is will check while the loop is false. Where check while the choice variable is not 5 as long as the user does not enter 5. The loop will repeat again and again. The menu will show again and again. Here the simple program you have code for main function. Also we use switch statements. Inside the loop, we print our menu, ask the user for choice, we store their answer in a choice variable. To handle that choice, we use a switch statement. This is just a cleaner way to write a bunch of if else statements. If choice is 1, we call the add function. Now add function is special function that create outside the main function. Also display function, issue book function, return book function. Now if choice is 2, we call the display book function that display all the book that will stored in the library. Call the 3 sorry if choice is 3, call issue book function to issue a specified book. We have to enter the ID of that book, so it will issued. Same case in return book. We have to enter the ID, so that will return the book. Case 5. A goodbye message is print. If the loop condition become false, that means choice not equal to 5. If user will enter 5, then the choice not equal to 5, then the loop condition is false and the program will end. Now look at these function one by one. First one is add function, second one is issue book function, sorry, display book function, third one is issue book function, fourth one is return book function. Now go to add book function. Here are the specific points that we will discuss in add book function. Now jump into the code. This is code for add book function. First add book function, this is where we add new books to our library. We start by creating an empty temporary book variable called new book. We set sets id using new book.id is equal to next book id plus plus. This line does two things. It assigns the current value of next book of id to the book's id and then increment next book, so next book at a different number. You can realize that if first we assign next book id is equal to 1, then 2, 3 as goes to n. Next the line is same dot ignore. This is very important fix which we talk in our early slides, where the user choose one from the menu. They pressed enter key and the enter key is still sitting in the input buffer. If we did not have this ignore line, the getLine function would instantly read that enter key. This means user enter an empty title. This line ignore all the character to including that leftover enter key, clearing the way for the getLine. This is very important line for our code because without this we cannot write title for a book. Now we can use safely the getLine to read the title and the author. We use getLine instead of scene, so we can read the title name that have spaces. we set new book dot issued is equal to false because it is a new book, so it must be available in the library. Finally, the most important part, library dot push underscore back bracket new book bracket close semicolon. This line of code, this makes our temporary new book variable and add a copy of it to the end of our main library vector. This is very important line to add our book in library. Then we just print a success message showing the new ID. Here is the add function is clear. Now we have the display book function. Make the display book is simpler. First we check if bracket library dot empty brackets bracket close if our vector is empty. First of all, our vector is empty. We just print a message and return that library is empty. If it is not empty, we print a header and then use a for each loop. This loop, I will write the syntax for sorry read. I will write the syntax for each loop for bracket const auto and book semicolon library bracket close goes through every single book in our library vector one by one. This loop will check all the books in our library. Inside the loop, we print the book ID, book title, book's author name. For the status, we use ternary operator. This line, code line, I will read book dot issued question mark issued or available. It's just a short way to say if book is issued is true, then print issue, else print available. Now this is our display book code. Now go to issue book and return book code. These codes are quite similar. These codes are quite similar. Ask the user for a book ID. The logic is nearly identical. That code will ask for a book ID, loop through the library vector. Important is that we use auto and book with an and to get the reference. This lets change our original book in the vector, not a copy. Find the book, check the status, check and change its status. Means that to issue karani hai. Check if book not book is issued. It is available. Then book dot issued is equal to true. To return, check if book dot issued. If we check it out, then set book dot issued is equal to false. Use a bool found flag to print a message, print a book not found message if the loop finishes without match. Now jump into this issue book code. First of all, we ask the user for the ID of the book that want to issue. We set bool found equal to false flag. We will use this to check if we ever find the book. We loop through our library vector again. This time the auto and book and the ampersand means we are getting a reference to the book. This is important because we want to change the original book in the vector, not a copy. Inside the loop, we check if book.id matches the book ID a user type that which book ID user will type in the choice. If we find the book which set found is equal to true, then we do a nested check. If bracket notebook dot issued is issued, this means if book is not issued, if it is available, we set book dot is issued is equal to true and print a success message. If it was already issued, we just tell the user. After the loop, we check if not found. If our flag is still false, it means loop finished without ever finding that ID. So we print a book not found message. Means that if our loop is completed and still false, our flag is still false, it means loop finished without ever finding the book ID. So we print a message of book not found message. Now go to written book function. Finally, the written book function is almost identical to issue book. We get the ID and set sound flag and the loop through the vector using reference. We find the book by its ID set found equal to true. Only difference is the logic. This time we check if book dot issued, and if book is currently issued, we set book dot issued equal false to mark it is at returned and available. If it was not issued, we tell the user, and just like before we handle book was book the not found, sorry, and just before we handle that the book not found case, if the loop finishes and found is still false. As you can see, by combining struct to hold our data, vector to store it, and a set of simple function, we build an effective console application. Now go to the code editor to check our code. So this is our code in which we include four header files: IOStream for input output, string to store text, vector to store data. Data means book. That is our database. Limit for a that will a problem in input buffer for this line. Using namespace std. After this, we define a structure of book. ID, title, author, or bool is issued. Then we define global variable to store books, acting as our database. Vector book library, first global variable. And second is int book next ID is equal to 1 to assign unique ID to new books. Now function to add book. We have a function to add books. Name special function add book function. New book is a variable. New book dot id is equal to next book id plus plus that we'll discuss in our slides. And this is the line, so we can ignore the input buffer. This is our code for enter title, same for author name, and we initialize the bool is for new book dot issued is equal to false because book is stored in a library and we are adding the book, so it will be false. Library dot push back. So this is for adding our book to the library. Now we have a void display. This is code for display all the books, in which we use if statement and for each loop. Now this is code for issue a book using same for each loop. Same, this is a code for written book using if statement and for each loop. Now this is our main function. We initialize choice as integer, so we cannot write except integer in a choice. This is we use do while loop. Now test the program. The program will ask from user to enter the choice. Now first we type 1. Now it will ask for book title, say physics. Name author, let's say Ajay sir. Same, we add one or more book. Title is chemistry. Author name, let's say Vikas sir. We add one or more book. Title is mathematics. Author name, let's say Amit sir. Now we add more book regarding C++ by Sumit. Now second one used for display all the book. Now type second. Here we can display all the 4 books that will store in our library. That ID1 physics, ID2 chemistry, ID3 mathematics, ID4 C++. Now we have to issue the chemistry book. That ID is 2. So we can type choice is equal to 3. And then a program will ask the user to type the ID of that book will be issued. I can write 2. So I have issued chemistry book. Now I want to return that book. Then I want same 4 and then 2. To exit from the program, the 5 will end. Here the program will end. So thanks for watching.